All right, welcome back to another video. So today's video is going to be about installing a OEM remote start system, my 2015 F150. So on the generation F150 before this, adding a remote start was basically as easy as buying an antenna and then a different key fob that had the remote start button on it, programming it up to the truck, turning it on in Ford IDS, and you had factory remote start. They changed stuff in 2015 a little bit to add a remote start. If it didn't come with it, now we have to add a security module to the truck. You could always go aftermarket remote start, but I kind of like factory stuff, and it's very easy and a very quick installation as long as you have the right computer equipment to enable the feature. So today that's what I'm going to show you how to do. All right, so really the only tools we need are a computer, and you either need a subscription to IDS or you need to have a Ford dealer that will activate this feature for you, or you can do it with the free Forscan and an aftermarket OBD2 programmer like this. So this is the part number right here for the kit that I'm using from Ford, and how this one comes by default. It's set up to use your factory key fob, and you'll press lock, unlock, lock, and that will start the truck. You can also turn it off. This remote start system will then, if it's hot out, turn on your AC. If it's cold out, turn on your heat. Optionally, you can add, and this did not come with it, bi-directional remote start. You have to buy the fob and antenna kit separately. We're not going to be doing that today. We're just going to be adding the factory remote start. So it comes with this T harness here, a manual, some stickers to put on your window, a jumper for if you don't want the security system, some zip ties, and the actual module itself. You can see here. So this module just plugs in via this one connection. This harness right here plugs in right behind the OBD2 port, which is located right here. So behind here, there's a connection. It's called your gateway connection. You basically, this is such a quick and easy install. I can show you just in a few seconds how this is done. You basically just push the tab on this, pull that out. You can see that this T-harness plugs into the gateway connection, and then that plugs right back into the back of your OBD2 port. Plug this in to the box. Then we secure our box up here. We'll zip tie it up out of the way to the main harness, and that is it. That is all you have to do to add the actual wiring and electronics for factory remote start. Now, if you want, you can add the bi-directional kit, like I said, which will require you to run an antenna wire up through the pillar and mount it to the windshield. Besides that, that's literally the whole installation. All right, so I've got it plugged into the T-harness and then plugged into the module. You're supposed to go ahead and secure it up with zip ties, but I just want to make sure everything's working real quick. So the next thing we want to do is we want to learn the module to the car. And you start basically in the off position, put your key in. We're just going to cycle it on, and then we're going to cycle it off. Okay, that's right. The lock's just cycled, so I assume that's it learning the remote start module right there. Next thing you would want to do is adjust the shock sensor. So to do that, you do have to have this zip tied to up under to the harness. And how it says to do it is, this is your shock sensor right here, and it goes all the way to the left is all the way down, and all the way to the right is all the way up. It says to start with it basically in the middle. And what you're supposed to do is put your window down. Okay, put our window down, turn the ignition off. We'll go ahead, shut the door. We're gonna arm the system. And then After about 20 seconds, since we don't have the LED light, the system will be armed and the shock sensor will start working. And then if we bang, in our case, the box here with the shock sensor in it, it should give us a light tap, should signify, should just get the horn to chirp once. And if we really bang the wheel hard, it's supposed to simulate, like, you know, the car being broken into with glass breakage or something, and it's supposed to go into full alarm. I personally am going to have the shock sensor turned all the way down because I don't want my alarm going off in a thunderstorm, and that's really all shock sensors are good for. The perimeter alarm will still function even with the shock sensor turned all the way down. So if someone opens one of your doors somehow, even if they break the window, they're still going to reach in and open the door to get in. The alarm system will go off. Let's see if it's been long enough now. Okay, so you see that light tap, the horn honked. I'll reach down and just smack this box here. See it, turn the alarm off. Okay, hit the unlock button. Alright, so here's what it looks like, all zip tied up in place. You can see, I cut my zip ties, but it's secured right to that module next to it there. And our shock sensor adjustment and our other plugs, if we want to add a two-way system later or whatever, are just right here, right under here, easy to access. All right, so now we're ready to start programming. All right, so one tip, and this is pretty important, if you're installing this on a truck like mine that comes with the factory security system, there's the little jumper that comes in the box, the little jumper wire. You have to install the jumper wire. I'll show you. If you look up in here, you can see the little jumper wire where it goes. You have to install that to disable the internal security on the remote start system, so it will not interfere with the factory remote start system. So the instructions that you can download do not mention this, and they actually say the opposite of that it will work with the factory security system, but it actually does not. So your factory security system will remain working even with the jumper in. Okay, so obviously I could hook this up to IDS and program it the way Ford would do it, but that won't do most of you any good. So I'm going to go ahead and use Forscan and show you how to do this with a program that you can get for free. And using a cheap OBD2 ELM 327 device, and I'll have a link in the description below to one that I use that works really well. So right now I've connected to Forscan with the connect button down here, and it's going through reading all the modules in the truck, and this takes a few seconds or to a few minutes, so be patient, and once it's found all the modules, be ready to move on. All right, so you know it's done reading the vehicle because it will ask you if you've been in here before, if you'd like to use the previous profile. I'm just going to select no. All right, so now we want to go to module programming. You do have to have a Forscan extended license, which you can get for free. We're going to go here to this little icon here, and we're going to select it. And then you can see we want our body control module right here. Hit the play button down here. All right, so what we're looking for is remote start. All right, here, see this line, remote start, and show that glare. You can see that it is disabled, so we want to change this to enabled, and click the check, and then remote start duration, change all these to 15 minutes. This is like if you remote start it a second time. That's the max you can do, so I'm just going to max stuff out. start parking lights enabled. Okay, so that's everything we need to do in the body control module. So we're going to select right. It's going to probably tell us to turn the ignition off and then back on. Okay. We've done that. All right, so that's the first module we need to change. Now we need to go to our instrument cluster, which is the IPC right here. Module configuration. I'm going to select that. So same thing. I'll look for remote start. All right, remote start. We need to change that from disabled to enabled. Remote start climate settings. So obviously we want to change that to enabled. That will, like I said, turn on your heat and cold automatically. Now you have steering wheel. So if you have a heated steering wheel, you would want to enable that. If you have a rear defrost, which I do not, you would want to enable that. And same thing for heated and cooled seats, driver seat, passenger seat. I'm going to leave those disabled because I do not have any of that. Okay, so basically, this is the only two things we need to enable is remote start and remote start climate settings. What that will do is make it so we can access the remote start menu from our instrument cluster. So we're going to click right. Check mark. Same thing. Just turn it off and back on. Okay. Now we can go ahead and hit the stop button down here. And so now, depending on the instrument cluster model that you have, we're going to go ahead and go to our menu, settings, remote start. You can see it's got our climate control set to auto. You can also do last setting. So auto will make it so if it's, like I said, if it's warm out, it automatically cools down. If it's cold out, it automatically heats up. Last setting would be whatever the truck was when you turned it on. So if you had your AC on, kind of like a manual setting, you know, it will default to that. You can change the duration in here, 5, 10, 15. And you can turn it on and off in here also, just with the system button. So we're going to go ahead and get out of here. So it should function now. So we're going to go ahead and go back up here to I. We're going to hit the disconnect button. We're going to turn our ignition off, unplug our system here. Now we're ready to try out our remote start. And I'll show you now. Lock, unlock, lock. You see it fires right up. In our case, it has turned on the AC, even though nothing's lit up on the screen. Our AC is working. It says to drive, turn key to on. All right, so that's all there is to installing the factory remote start system. Again, that little jumper thing threw me off a little bit because, again, that's not in the installation manual anywhere, and it's actually contradictory. So that happens though sometimes. All right, well, hopefully the video was helpful. Be sure to like it if it was. Again, there'll be links in the description below where you can download Forscan and you can buy the programming tool necessary to do this. So it's a much cheaper option adding the factory remote start and security system if you don't have the OEM security than it is to add an aftermarket remote starter. Believe it or not, you can find it pretty cheap. I'll leave a link to where I got the remote start system. I can't guarantee how long it will last though, because it is an eBay link, and once they're sold out, they're gone. They've discontinued making that product. All right, so until next time, we'll see you later.